Hey, Goat Knucklers, it's Flo. Welcome back to another episode of Goat Knuckle Talk with Flo. Hey, before I introduce you to my co-host, I want to remind everyone when you're on the YouTube channel, smash that subscribe button, click that notification bell, like the video, and leave a comment. Hey, help out the channel if you do that. Let me go ahead and introduce you to my co-host, class of '83, Lisa Nolan Hafner. Hey, Lisa.
Hey Flo, how are you?
I am good. I'm excited. Who's our guest tonight?
Oh, this is going to be a really fun night. So, without further ado, and by the way, everybody here is class of '83 except for Steve, George. But so we have from Plainview, Robert Braddock, Wave Robert, Dean Takel, Steve George, Tim Coleman, and from the herd we have Carrie Beard and James Payne. Welcome,
And who?
fellas.
Yes,
So
who's our sponsor tonight?
yeah. So after I announce our sponsor, I'm going to go back and call on each one of you and find out, where you're living and what position you played. So tonight's show is sponsored by Farmers Insurance King Agency. They opened their doors on March 2nd, 2020. They offer various products, including auto, home, life, commercial, small group health, and medical insurance, serving Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Colorado. They have a fantastic team dedicated to customer service, and their focus is on ensuring that customers understand what they're purchasing while securing the best premiums possible. They take pride in Plainview and appreciate what Flo and Lisa are doing with Goat Knuckle Talk with Flo. For more information and free quotes, call 806-296-6988, and this will be posted when we publish this episode. Okay, without further ado, Mr. Takel.
If I may add first, Sherry King is the wife of Harold King.
Yes.
FYI. So
Yeah.
and hey, I'm going to say cheers to everyone. Grab a glass, whatever you're drinking, water. Cheers.
Kombucha.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Kombucha's
Welcome,
good.
everyone. Okay, without further ado, Dean, who disappeared from the screen.
We went to go get another drink, so let's get
No,
it.
no, sorry. My air conditioning in my room shut off. I had to turn it back on. It's getting hot in here.
So, Dean, where are you currently living and what position did you play?
I live in Lubbock, Texas, or just outside of Lubbock, and I played tight end.
All right, Steve.
I live in Spring, Texas, which is just outside of Houston, and I played quarterback.
Awesome. Tim?
I played fullback. I live in Dale City, Oklahoma. They're just outside of Oklahoma City.
Awesome. James?
I live in Dallas, Texas, and I was a strong side defensive end for Hereford.
I remember.
Excellent.
So
Terry?
do I.
I live in Arlington, Texas, and I was a tight end as well.
Excellent. And without further ado, Mr. Braddock?
I live in Bentonville, Arkansas. I was an outside linebacker and a guard.
Excellent.
And a linebacker. Right? You said I was my bad. Yeah, Robert, this is your third time on here?
Third, yep.
Third and Steve
fourth.
second. So you guys will learn a lot from Robert, by the way.
Always.
So
Yes.
we've got the herd in place, so we're back, 40 years ago. So let's talk about some shit. Let's talk about the game, the rivalry. Carrie.
Yep.
Before I get into these questions here, the rival, when you thought about Plainview, what did you think of? And hey, don't hold back. Let's hear the truth.
A bunch of badasses. I mean, they were always good. The rivalry was unbelievable. We had good friendship. I've known Steve practically all my life. And you know, what a great group of guys. And we knew we were always going to have our hands full when we played Plainview. Always.
All right, get this guy more shots. He's not being honest. James, you tell us about the rivalry.
Well, Steve left us in 7th or 8th grade. I can't remember when. And so we had kind of a built-in
second time through 7th grade.
Yeah, second time through 7th grade, he left us. And so we had a little bit of a built-in rivalry then. And Sherwood had started for y'all in somewhere in the late 70s, and y'all went from not very good to very good. I think y'all won district in 80 before our really good team in 81. And then in 82, it was, I can't remember who was predicted to win district, but it was either y'all or us. And, you know, Kerry was being real nice. I didn't like you very much, you know,
There you
of
go.
course, I like Steve, but we knew that that was going to be a fight. And we were very fortunate to have y'all have to come to Hereford our senior year. Y'all had a very good team.
Dean, what did you think about Hereford?
You know, it's any time that you have to have a police escort in and out of town, that kind of tell you how where the rivalry stood. But you know, in the middle of it, it's like you wanted nothing more than just beat the hell out of these guys. And looking back on it, there wasn't a better time in life, really. I mean, we had such a good time, and we didn't realize how good we had it at the time because, you know, you're in the fight mode. But, you know, I do think that our team made them better, and their team definitely made us better. And I remember the preparation going into the weeks. I mean, you know, you never want to look past an opponent, but, you know, we were preparing for Hereford 2 weeks ahead of when we should have been. And, you know, credit to Coach Sherwood in that he could manage that and keep us focused on what we had to do. But, you know, your eyes were always set on your biggest opponent, and it was for sure Hereford.
What about you, Mr. Coleman?
Well, you know, me, I was just glad to be there anywhere. I got up to a high school level until Jerry Cargill got hurt my junior year.
Yeah.
It was a senior year. I never did get a chance. And then when Jerry Cargill got hurt, that's when I started playing.
Yep.
That was a year I started. That's when I started. But before that, I was never even in the picture. All I was Royce Coleman's baby brother. That's like,
You downplaying it there, brother. We all knew better.
yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, but Tim, you sure made the best of it. Boy, when you got your opportunity, man, you were fantastic.
Yep, and you know what? You know, like Steve, when I first met Steve, I looked at Steve. I said, "Hey, where you at?" I said, "Where you come from?" Then I found out he was the principal's son. I said, "Oh, that's why he up here."
That's exactly why.
That ain't true.
He was one of the at that time. He's one of the fastest white boys I ever knew.
Yep.
Before he had all the knee braces and all that other stuff on there, because he wound up with about 15 knee braces.
That is no joke. That is
You all
no joke.
remember when y'all came to Hereford our senior year to play Steve junior year, I guess?
Hey,
How many people were
How
there?
could we forget?
We had people standing in the end zones. We brought in extra stands for people
Exactly.
Yeah.
around the field. It felt like both towns showed up for that football game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And you
for
brought
sure.
that damn ugly cow from Big Texan.
He stole it from Big Texan.
I know. So 82 guys explained, but did you guys really like that damn cow?
It's not a cow. It was a damn bull.
Oh,
was a
bull.
bull
My
that had
bad. My
balls.
apologies.
It was a bull.
Well, I wasn't looking, if it had
And
nuts.
it was impressive because, back then Hereford traveled very well and Plainview traveled well and a couple of other schools did. But, we drug that bull to every game we went to, and that kind of led the convoy of going out of town. That was a lot of fun.
That was really the cool part about growing up where we grew up, man, was you had one high school in each town, basically. I guess Amarillo and Lubbock had a couple of different ones, but for the most part, you were the show, and the town lived and breathed everything you did on Friday night.
That's
If you played well, the town was up, everything was good. And if you played bad, everybody was kind of like just kicking rocks. And, that to me was one of my favorite memories of, I love just the fact that a town would get behind a group of guys for no other reason than, hey, these are our guys and we want them to do well.
Well,
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, that leads me to a question, Dean. So, and this is a question for all of you. So whoever wants to answer it, but I'm going to start with you, Dean. So, like being a senior, knowing you're part of this great team, and now what was going to be a legacy in Plainview, and you guys too in Hereford. Did y'all feel like, hey, we're the shit, we're superstars in our town, like everybody knew who you were?
I always just kind of felt, I don't know if I ever felt like we were the shit as much as you just didn't want to let anybody down. There was a little bit of a pressure of, I just don't want to let my town down. And so I don't feel like we were put up on a pedestal as much as I just felt supported no matter what we did, win, lose, or draw. We were always supported. But at the same time, it sure was a hell of a lot easier on a Saturday if you won.
All right. Hey, Robert, let
Yeah.
me go to you, brother. What is the
Mhm.
rivalry meant to you?
I'd like to echo a little bit of where Dean just went about letting being a disappointment, letting people down. There had been a standard set in '78 that we really looked up to,
Yep.
and 79 and 80, and you wanted to be a part of that. You wanted to be, I think earlier Payne was talking about the dynamic, the electricity that was involved with the traveling and the fan base, and it was inspirational. And so that for me was huge. You couldn't even hardly sleep on a Thursday or Wednesday if you're playing on a Thursday in anticipation of that. And the I think it's genuine. 40 years later, we're talking, and there's a little bit of camaraderie, but there's a lot of respect. And there's definitely a love-hate relationship. I know you listen to Steve, and he grew up, and there's respect. These people were childhood friends. And then through competition, through the years, whether it's basketball or track, um, you gain that. I was talking the last time we did this, Don DeLozier, he's a year older, and he and I we had some competition, but I actually remember Kerry. And when we went to Hereford our senior year, I remember you, Kerry.
I
You
remember
know,
you too.
it took me to somewhere in the third quarter to actually create separation from you. You caught me by surprise because you brought a little bit of a tenacity that I wasn't really expecting. And I don't know if you remember what I'm talking about. I
Yep.
literally had to throw you off me one time, but it was already too late. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You had already established a presence, and I couldn't get rid of you. I'm screaming at the ref, he's holding me, whatever. And you're in a
He
fight, man.
probably
I was
was.
in a
He probably
fight.
was holding.
Now
And
let's jump a
so
little
I
bit.
said a lot of stuff about you, probably talked about your mom or whatever. But when I got on the bus to go home, you came to play. And see, you years later, there's a lot of respect for that.
Yep.
There's a lot of respect for that. We're talking to Hereford. Man, I'm telling you, the only thing I can remember about Lubbock is I picked the fight at the end of the game 2 years in a row. That's the highlight of that game, right? And some of the rest are the same. I remember you guys really um, more so than even San Angelo Central.
That's
We
fair.
win that game and we're gonna go way off because there was nobody else in the way. But
I
that's
think.
that's the thing for me
I
was
think to your
was
point there, Robert. I think you're right. I mean, when I think back about the high school times and football games and stuff like that, the first memories are Hereford.
mhm.
The rest of them, not to downplay them, and they had some good teams too, but it would just always my first memory is and first thought is, man, only if we could have, or only if we should have, or
Yeah.
whatever against Hereford.
Well, let me ask Carrie and James. Were you guys held back like some of the other guys were?
No, sir.
Oh.
No, our
Were you
senior year,
asked to be held back and you guys declined?
No?
Yeah, not a single one. Our senior year, we didn't have anybody who was held back. The team ahead of us had Delosier and Richburg and
Waters.
that were held back. But our senior year, we didn't have anybody. That was just.
They actually grew up with Paul Bell and them, right?
No, yeah. Paul Bell from the mid-70s. No, we weren't quite that old.
Yeah.
Well, let me
is
ask
the
you
fastest white boy I've ever seen, by the way.
Fast as anybody.
He was.
Period.
I'm telling you.
It didn't matter what the color was. He could run.
Yeah.
Well, let me
I think
ask you
he's Santa
guys,
Claus age or something, wasn't he?
Kerry and James again. You know, we had Coach Sherwood, and you know, he was a very great coach, and also like a father figure to these guys. What about Coach Compton? How did you guys feel about Coach Compton, Kerry? I mean,
Oh, he was unbelievable coach. I mean, he was very intense. He expected a lot out of us, but at the end of the day, you know, he was kind of like a father figure to us. And you know, growing up, because you know the system in Hereford, you ran the same, you know, offense in junior high as you did in high school, and so we met him in junior high, and so all those years, you know, we were looking forward to playing for him and his staff. I mean, you know, Coach Taylor, who went on to be a very successful coach. I mean, you know, there's a lot of other coaches from Compton that were very successful. And you know, speaking of that, you know, my junior year, we had great mentors on the field and off the field. I played second string tight end behind Delosier, but then I played cornerback as well on defense. But I mean, Delosier was a great mentor, and we were very successful. You know, my junior year, we went on to semifinals and got beat 9-7 by Lake Highlands. So, you know, going into our senior year, we didn't, you know, there was some pressure because obviously we wanted to, you know, repeat that. We had a great game against Plainview, won on basically the last play of the game with about just over a minute left. So that was awesome. But then the next game or the game after that, we had to play Coronado, and we had to win that to win the district, and we got our asses kicked 38-0. So
I remember that.
Yeah, it was, you know, we had 4 days to prepare for them. They had 2 weeks to prepare for us, and literally we would get up to run a play, and I would hear that they were calling our plays. They knew exactly what we were running. So, you know, talking about being humbled, it was a great experience, and I think, you know, we took that and you know, we had to go home after that. It was a tough loss.
wow, left it all in the field against Plainview, huh?
Yeah,
Definitely.
James, what do you say about Coach Compton?
He was one of the most influential men in my life, and I think a lot of the guys that played for him, you know, next to my father and my grandfathers. And I think Dean was hitting on this earlier. You don't want to disappoint your town. I can tell you there wasn't anybody on the herd that wanted to disappoint Coach Compton. You know, we love that guy, and he was able to get us to play better than what we had the talent to play, I think.
I think that's all great coaches, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Sherwood to get more out of you than you thought you had.
Yes.
And I think, you know, you play above yourself and you wonder what the hell just happened there. Who was that?
That's exactly right. And so it was wonderful playing for him. I hadn't seen him in a number of years, but I think he's still around.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Plainview guys, but Sherwood really didn't get upset, and that's what scared you guys the most. When you guys knew you did something wrong, he wouldn't say anything. I mean, it was more body language. Am I correct?
Well,
he would look at you a certain way.
I've seen him upset. Trust me.
I'm sorry.
that's for
I saw
y'all.
him upset a couple of times.
Okay. Well, the reason I mean bringing that up was Coach Compton like that, or was he verbal?
Oh no, you knew when he was dissatisfied. Yeah, Coach Compton coached the defensive ends, and so spent a lot of time with him. And he would run across the field to yell at you in your face. And you just felt like dirt. And you tried harder and harder not to disappoint the man.
Yeah.
Did you grab the face mask?
No, he did not. That
Okay.
happened to us in elementary school. We had a couple of coaches. Steve would probably remember this. Coach Spann there did
I
that.
remember Coach Spann.
Yeah, but Compton didn't grab face mask, but he'd scream at you and he'd get spit kind of around his mouth when he's really going. He's spitting on you too.
Like Coach Parr, in
Exactly.
Plainview,
Yeah.
and holding the two cups.
I saw Coach Sherwood plenty upset many a times, and
Me too.
and
Me
he
too,
wouldn't-
Dean.
Yeah, Steve, you felt a lot of it, especially, but
Yeah.
I mean,
But there's no.
Give us an instance, Dean.
and well, it wasn't always in public, right? It may not be on the sidelines or whatever, but once you got in that locker room, he was not afraid to go over there and snatch you up and explain that you shouldn't do what you just did. But I mean, as far as like an instance, I one of my favorite memories of Coach Sherwood, my sophomore year, I was playing wide receiver, which I had no business doing, and he would, get the play or whatever, and I was running plays in and out every other play, and he'd grab you by the back of the shoulder pad, and he'd tell you the play, and he'd push you into the game, and then about 3 or 4 times a game, he'd change his mind about half push. And he'd snatch you up and your feet come up off the ground and you get whiplash back, you're weighing all of 170 pounds, and he'd snatch you back and then he'd look at you like, oh man, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like pull your feet up on your butt. Let's run this instead. But as far as him, I don't remember him getting, I don't know, that upset on the sideline as much as when you got in the locker room, you knew if you were grading well or if you weren't grading well.
Sherwood did not publicly humiliate his players.
Never.
No.
Never. That man
Yeah.
had class. You knew he was pissed because of his body language and his facial expression.
Yeah.
He
That
was
was
like
very
almost
clear.
like a Tom Landry, like a Tom Landry coach.
Yeah.
He would
And
get upset, but
And Coach Sherwood had plenty of coaches around him that were upset enough that he didn't have to.
Yeah.
So Coleman, let me ask you this. So when it came to circling the game on the calendar, was it Hereford?
To me, for some reason, it was Monterey. I don't know why it was Monterey. Back in the day, it was Monterey for me.
Okay.
The deal
Why Monterey? Because of the rich boys? And you saying these guys?
No, what it was, they put me on a kickoff. Coach Sherwood put me on a kickoff. I'm running down the field. I'm running and not paying attention. Then somebody came. I don't remember who it was coming. He just knocked me way off my feet. I said, okay. The next time I wasn't even trying to tackle nobody. I had to go find the one that hit me. I didn't think about tackling nobody. I had to go find him. Then he hit me and knocked me way off my feet and he hurt my pride. I said, wait a minute. Up, I ain't did nothing to you. I'm just trying to tackle somebody. So that was about the only time. And when we played Hereford, I never did even really think about Hereford. All I was always thinking about was Coach Sherwood telling me. He grabbed me one time. He took me in the field house. And you know that sign that's I don't know if it's still over the door, but it used to say, if it's gonna be, it's up to me. And after every game, he'd grab me and snatch me. He'd come up there and he'd point up that sign. He said, do you see that sign? He said, that's what I want you to remember about me. If it's gonna be, it's up to you. I said, okay. And every time, it just like after every game, he would grab me and snatch me and tell me to come in there and do the same thing every time. But me and him got along real well. And I think my junior year, he tried to put weight on me, so he started buying weight gain for me. I was taking a lot of weight gain. So from my junior year from my sophomore year to my junior year, my sophomore year, I think I weighed like 165 pounds. By the time my junior year came, I weighed 182 pounds. But I was only 5'8". But he always wanted me to have weight. I don't know why. And they gave me the biggest shoulder pads you could ever find. I couldn't even run in the shoulder pads. They were so big. He wanted me to look like I was a big statue type of person. I told Sherwood, I said, hey, I can't move in these shirts. He said, well, you're going to wear them anyway.
Flo, if I can just kind of jump in on that question, I don't know that I know a single player from any other team in our district. And when you asked me to be on this thing, I mean, immediately I knew the guys from Hereford. I mean, it was just one of those deals. I mean, it's because, we scouted them, we looked at them. I mean, hell, Kerry and I played against each other in football and we guarded each other in basketball. And he wore my ass out in every sport. And so, I don't remember. I wish I probably could remember some of the guys from other high schools that we played against, but I remember, I damn near could have 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I probably could have named the starting lineup on both sides.
True statement, Dean.
And I didn't like any of them.
Hell, you roommate with one of the guys your college year, Don Delogier's your roommate.
So
how was that when he walked in, or you walked in for the first time? You're like,
dude. So I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to go play at UTA, and I flew into DFW, and that's back when you could go to the gate and pick up, whoever you were meeting or whatever. I get off the plane, and I hadn't seen Delozier since, the last time we played football against each other. I didn't even know Don even went to UTA, to be honest with you. And I get off the plane, and I walk out there, and Don Delogier's standing there, that big shit-eating grin he has. And I'm like, y'all don't even want me to come here. If y'all know mine and Don's history, y'all don't want me to come here. This is just, I'm wasting y'all's time. And we became best friends, roommates, the whole deal in college. And there's not a better person on this earth, in my opinion, than Don Delozier.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny, because as soon as I walked off with that shit-eating grin, I'm looking at him like, the hell are they punking me? Or, what are they doing to me? And he just broke out in a big ass grin and started laughing. He goes, damn, we had fun, didn't we? And I was like, I never really looked at it like that. I never looked at it like fun. And after he said that, I was like, well, you know what? Now that I think about it, we did have a lot of fun. And I still don't like you, but you know what? We're going to figure out how to make this work.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was, and another kid at UTA was, Kerry helped me here with I think he either played free safety, strong safety, Hill. His last name is Hill.
Mike Hill?
Mike Hill.
Yeah.
Mike Hill was at UTA with us as well.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And he talked as much shit in college as he did in high school. That boy could talk more shit. I hated him in defensive backfield. Yeah. I would try to hunt him down, and to this day, I'm not sure I ever got to hit him. But I've chased his ass a lot.
Did he play for Hereford?
Y'all are laughing because you know who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
that boy had a mouth.
You're speaking the truth.
I am speaking the truth.
I think they play for Hereford, Robert. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so, Robert, he was a little cocky defensive back that just, I mean, he'd be the last one on the pile, right?
That's funny.
So Dean, playing with those guys in college, did it kind of give you a paradigm shift about the rivalry in terms of shifting more from anger and dislike to respect and, okay, we did really have a good time because of this rivalry?
100%. I mean, you didn't like them because they were the opponent, but you respected them because they were good.
Yeah.
And that carried on even through college. I mean, these guys were good, and you can learn from them, and I learned a lot from Don. And their work ethic is kind of what you'd expect from guys that are that good. I mean, and so yeah, there was never ever any animosity past that last football game we played in high school.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
That's good. So Hereford guys, what about you guys? Do you guys circle Plainview, or was it another team your senior year that you were looking forward to play? James, go with you.
Sure. Our second or third game of the year was against Monterey, and we went to Lubbock, and Monterey beat us in the last minute 6-0 on a touchdown pass.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're down 1 in the district, and we're watching Plainview, of course, and Plainview keeps winning. And then we keep winning after that. And so we're desperate at that time when the game comes around for Plainview and Hereford, because we have to win. We have to beat Plainview to be able to have a chance to win in district. So yeah, it was a circle game for us, especially after the loss to Monterey, because we had to beat y'all. And the game is tied there in Hereford at the end. And we essentially throw a Hail Mary to Brian Taylor, I think. And we score and we win. But a tie wouldn't do it for us, because if we tied Plainview, even if we beat Coronado the next week, y'all win district. Only one team advances. So we had to have that win. I remember, our entire sideline at that time, we were holding hands. I remember holding hands with Freddie Garcia and all the way down the line. And Freddie was our starting strong side linebacker, so he always played behind me. And you'd never heard so many prayers being said and people praying and looking down and, hoping that something happens that helps us win that game. And it turned out lucky for us, really, on a Hail Mary like that. But I'm sure I'm glad that it happened that way. I'm thinking about you guys, I don't remember anybody but one other player in all of high school football. That was Newt Harrell, who played for Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
And Robert should remember him because he went on and played for University of Texas.
Teammate.
With Robert. And then Newt went on and played in the NFL for several years. And
the Browns and the Raiders.
Yeah, but I remember a number of you guys. We had in our locker room y'all starting roster up on the board with your pictures. And I don't know why they did this, maybe to intimidate us, but they put your weights on those pictures. And Plainview outweighed us on average. Kerry, do you remember? It was something like 30 pounds. It was like, why are we even trying to play these guys? It's like they're a college team with college-sized players. I'm the strong side defensive end. I'm 5'11", 185 pounds. Holy cow.
Bragger.
Yeah. I'm tiny compared to you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we always circle Plainview because we knew, it was going to be a fight and it was going to be a great game. But James, it's interesting. On that one play that Charles threw to Brian Taylor, Brian actually lined up on the wrong side. And it was good for us because I'm not sure who was covering Brian the game.
Greg Carter.
But whoever was
we remember.
I remember it well.
By the way, may he rest in peace.
I agree.
Mr. Carter.
But no, what I'm saying is whoever was covering Brian in the first, the game didn't switch with him when he lined up on the wrong side of the field. So whoever that person was, and what'd you say his name was?
Greg Carter.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be Kenneth Holman.
No, okay. Kenneth was the safety. It was supposed to be Quineth.
That's right. It was Quineth on the other. Quineth Dunlap on the other side. Yeah.
Damn, Robert. Good memory there, brother.
It's kind of ironic how that all worked out.
It was a nightmare.
Well, all of y'all's prayers that y'all were holding hands, it worked, I guess. on the sideline.
Well, we had to have it, and we got it, and then I don't know what happened. We get cocky or don't practice well. I don't know what happened, but Coronado just absolutely stomped us. But we couldn't stop them, and they absolutely could stop us.
They have that little running back, number 22, that was the Tex.
More.
More.
Yeah, Chris Moore or something like that.
Oh, I remember that guy.
That dude was bad.
I think his father coached Texas Tech.
Yep, Jerry Moore.
Yeah.
Yeah, he ran all over us.
Yes, he did.
Wow.
You know, you'd hit him, and you think you'd hit him hard, and you just bounce off that. I mean,
he was solid.
Yeah, this is an exaggeration, but it felt like the guy was about 5'5", 280. You know, you just couldn't wrap him up and get him stopped.
Okay.
But that ended that for us, and then y'all got to advance. You know, and secretly I actually rooted for y'all some because it made me at least feel good about how good y'all were doing in the playoffs.
Well, Robert, I was talking to Jay Douglas earlier, and I mentioned that Jay Douglas went to Plainview, did like a Steve George, and he ended up going to Monterey. And Jay mentioned there was, I don't know if it was our senior year or his senior, but he said Monterey, Hereford, and Plainview tied for district. Yeah. And there was a flip off.
We lost.
And Monterey lost.
We did too. We lost in a flip as well my senior year.
Okay.
That would have been Jay's senior year as well.
That's a fact. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So it was our senior year when that happened?
So when they beat us and Coronado beat them, we beat Coronado 40-13. Something like that, 40-13. And we beat Monterey 29 and 29-0. And
35-0.
We didn't tie for district our senior year. Maybe
we did the same thing, and then the very next year with Steve's class.
It would have been my senior year, James.
What is that?
Okay, yeah, because y'all won outright.
No, there was a three-way tie. We lost to you guys. You guys lost to Coronado. We ran Coronado off the field. We all had one loss. Unless you had two losses. Did you have two?
We had two.
Yeah, we had two.
That's what it was then. Because we lost to you guys, and then we beat Coronado, bad. And we beat Monterey, bad. The only one that ever stayed on the field with us was you guys, and you guys handled us pretty good that game. It was a close game, but we didn't do what we wanted to do. And we didn't win the way we wanted to. We had to decide the same way they decided the next year. We had to decide with a breaking a three-way tie. So I'm not sure. I know that Monterey played Odessa Permian in bi-district, and we played San Angelo Central in bi-district. We got the nod. They finished second. The team that won that district with Permian was Permian. The second place team was San Angelo Central, and we lost and they lost and they advanced. Or we can just Google. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, right?
I don't know. Google goes back.
I don't know if it's going to have it, Robert.
I don't know. Have it. But funny, hey, James, you mentioned Newt Harrell, correct, from Canyon?
Yes.
When I started talking to Robert about the podcast, and I remember that Newt Harrell kid. He was like 6'4", 6'6", and he was skinny. But then I saw him a TV a year later or 2 years later on Texas. That dude was 100 pounds heavier. I mean, he went from a skinny kid to a huge man.
Yeah, Texas ended up putting a lot of weight on him. And I had one of my best games in high school against him. So he had the frame and, what the Division I schools wanted. But at least at that time, he had not yet quite grown down to that awesome body he was going to have. He might not have been just as coordinated and as quick as he was certainly going to be.
So his body was projected.
So James and Kerry, how many guys off y'all's team went and played college ball at any level? It didn't matter what level. Do you remember?
Our senior year,
Yes.
nobody. Charles, our starting quarterback, went and walked on at Oklahoma. And that would have been it.
And he ended up being a cheerleader.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
wound
ended
up-
up being a
Really?
cheerleader.
didn't make the
Yeah.
football team. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be damned.
I think Brian Taylor played for somebody on a junior college, if I remember correctly, but I don't know of anyone else, honestly.
Well, Tim Martin went and played for
Oh yeah, Tim did.
Tim Martin was
some Division III school in
San Antonio.
San Antonio, and I can't remember who they were, but we really didn't have any Division I talent like y'all did. You know, Robert played for Texas. Dean, you went on to a scholarship. Steve, did you play college football anywhere?
I went to Southwestern Oklahoma to play golf on a golf scholarship. Wound up playing 1 year of football until I broke my hand.
As
Was your
good as
golf
Steve,
coach? Was your golf coach pissed off?
Yeah, I nearly lost my scholarship.
as
Wow.
good as Steve was at quarterback, he's a better golfer. Still is.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
And a pretty damn good basketball player if he wanted to be.
Mhm. My first memory of Steve, after they moved, was Steve George running this on the sprint relay with Randy Williams and them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
It
fact.
was
I
Randy
forgot about
Williams
that.
was- And boy, I tell you what, he
And
was
I ran
good,
it,
man.
and I ran anchor. Believe it or not.
Yeah,
Wow.
you did, Steve.
Yep.
You did. You see, Payne got me doubting myself with the factoids. I was gonna say that, but so I kept it safe. But the explosion, man, that explosion. We should have been running an option or something with you, Steve.
Yeah.
But that wing T.
Hey,
were running wing T. You had
Dean,
a lot
if you
of speed, man.
if
were
you
really fast.
remember, we ran a couple of plays that we would option. I remember a certain play. I don't remember who it was against, but we ran an option, and I kept it for a long ways down the field, and I always knew that. I don't remember who I pitched it to, but I remember you grabbing me by the back of my shoulder pads and picking me up. Damn, Kubiak, because we were all the way down the field. Do you remember that, Dean?
I do. Yeah.
I
Dude,
remember
you
that
were-
well.
You didn't have any business.
Steve,
playing
you went from Kubiak to Billy Kilmer. Remember that?
Yeah.
I was calling you Billy Kilmer.
Bill Kimmer was fat. I'm just kidding.
Boy,
I know it.
could
And
not
he was
throw a
fast as
spiral,
lightning.
though.
It was funny though.
Coleman,
A little bit
let's
of
talk about that
oxymoron.
senior game that we lost 21-14. What do you remember about besides losing? Can you give us
Which game was that you talking about?
Hartford, the Hartford game?
In Hereford.
You know what? I don't remember. All I remember was fumbling. I fumbled the ball, and then Coach Sherwood grabbed me. I fumbled the ball, went to the sideline. Coach Sherwood grabbed me and literally lifted me off the ground and was shaking. What the hell?
He did not like a fumble.
Yo,
No, he didn't.
up and just shook me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to know who recovered that fumble?
Huh?
That was me.
Oh,
Hey, you still have the football? Show us the football.
yeah.
Yeah. I remember fighting you on the ground, and you and I fought the two teams. You fumbled,
Mhm.
and the refs, I guess, called it for us, but you and I don't hear that. You and I are fighting on the ground still for this football,
Right.
and the teams have already left and gone to the sidelines, and then you and I run off by ourselves after that.
Right. And see, if you remember, Coach Tomlin said the ref just gave y'all the ball because I did have the ball.
Bull, no.
The last time
James had the ball, and you took it away from me in the scrum.
telling me that I did have the ball, and when I got up, you had snatched it. We was on the ground, and you had snatched it from me. You know,
There was a point I
I was
thought.
kind of blame you this last time they had something going on in Plainview, and I seen Coach Tomlin, which he still looked the same.
Right.
He got kids, he got old. I seen Coach Tomlin, I knew who he was. I said he hadn't changed none. Even Coach Billingsley, even though he had got a little older,
He looks exactly the
he
same.
still looked the same. He still had that tobacco juice on the side of his lips and all.
Mm-hmm.
I said, hey,
It's been there for 52 years. That same
Yeah.
stain has been right
It's
there.
stained.
yeah,
It's still hollering.
yeah. Oh yeah. He could.
That's awesome.
I said, oh. His voice was always squeaky.
Yep.
It was always squeaky, and he always would run out there. Now that guy would snatch you.
Yes, he would.
He would snatch you, and he'd grab you by your helmet. He'll shake your helmet, and he'll do all that back in them days. Now
Yep.
he could. Coach Billingsley was a guy that would do some snatching.
I think he was my position coach my sophomore year when I played wide receiver. I think he was my position coach, and he snatched me up regularly.
Yeah, he didn't mind it. He didn't mind it.
Yeah.
And now you talking about somebody spitting in your face. Now he would spit you on the mouth.
He did, especially when you're lifting weights and you're
Yeah.
struggling. He'll get right over you, like you're bench pressing. He would just say, push, push. Or what? He would just yell and spit all over you. I'm like, come on, man.
Mm-hmm. Dribble tobacco juice all over you.
So, Robert, tell us, what do you remember about that game in Hereford?
I was about to say there was a point that I actually thought that we might blow Hereford out. Early on, Ronnie goes like 60 yards on a 328 sweep. And when I
Ronnie,
pulled out to lead block, I don't know if
His
you guys know
brother.
what I'm talking about. Early in the game, I didn't see a soul there. And after that play, that's all I saw. When we ran that play, I was having to make contact, and I'm still 2 or 3 yards deep in the backfield trying to get leverage outside to kick out. I don't know what your coaches did to you guys, throwing bricks maybe or something, but the intensity just went through the roof at the point of attack. They were coming across the line of scrimmage. They would not allow us to get up the field and kick that out. And Tim and them was having a hard time even getting 5 yards, much less 60 yards. It happened one time. And then after that, I knew it was going to be, we'd be lucky. I think somebody said it was 21
yeah,
to
I
14.
just looked.
That first 7 points came really easy. And after that, man, I'm telling you, it was rough.
So
It was
Robert,
real rough. It was rough to move them. Huh?
Robert, that's on me, man. You know why? Because 328 sweep came to my tight end side, and James was sticking my ass in the backfield, and so we were having to retreat before we could even get to the line of scrimmage.
I'm going to tell you this,
5'11",
Dean,
and you're
it wasn't
264?
it wasn't just your battle with James, although I'm sure that was a battle. Man, there were DBs.
Yes, I remember.
Point of attack at the line of scrimmage coming up.
I remember.
And all year long, that had never happened. Nobody's secondary was at the point of attack. They were shutting down the 328, they were shutting down that sweep. And the thing that made it difficult, whether it was Randy or Ronnie, was the bread and butter was if I could get up the field and kick somebody out so they could make a move one way or the other and get gone, right? Man, they were stopping that. We were having to try to get deep just to get up the field to get 5 yards after that.
Yep.
And it stayed that way the rest of the game.
So since everybody remember,
One time, we broke one time, and the rest of it, that was it. They shut it down.
Go ahead, Tim.
who did the Statue of Liberty? You remember we were playing somebody.
Kenneth?
No. I'm saying they did it to us. They turned around. We kicked the ball off. They turned
The one
around.
who ran the Statue of Liberty?
Yep, I'm saying on the kickoff. It was on the kickoff. I remember.
Oh, I don't know.
Y'all remember when it was on the kickoff? We kicked the ball to them.
I think that was San Angelo Central. I think it was San Angelo Central.
Yeah, they turned around.
I think you're right, Steve.
Right.
Yeah.
They turned around, and we didn't know where the ball was. We had never seen that play on the kickoff. So they turned around. We didn't know where the ball was going. So they turned around. The guy wound up running he wound up running a touchdown. Because they handed off to one person and handed off to the other person. Nobody knew nothing about it. That's the first time we ever seen that play.
Wow.
Hey,
Yeah.
James, who played defensive tackle next to you?
That was either Kyle Williams. Kerry, I can't remember our other starting defensive tackle.
Because me and Mo,
Christie.
me and Mo,
Christie.
yeah, me and Mo Evans talked about it in the huddle all the time. I'm like, because I'm supposed to, as tight end, I'm going to double down on him, and Robert's going to pull around and kick out the defensive end one way or the other, whatever. And like Robert said, I mean,
one time it happened. One time,
I crashed down. And I look up and he's back there with Steve. And I'm like, I'm hitting him in his ass. I'm not.
Yeah, that would have been Robbie Christie, I believe.
Yeah.
We called that play, or Dean, you would block down.
Yep.
And my read at that time was to crash as you block down, and I was supposed to meet Robert in the backfield, as he was pulling. And I was.
You were meeting me in the backfield.
And I was. And I remember y'all making a play or making a change, and y'all switched Mo to guard, and Robert, I don't know if you remember this, y'all tried this a couple of plays. They moved you to tackle to try to get me kicked out. And that was just making it easier for me to meet you because you didn't have as much running room to come at me. But I remember that. And that long play y'all broke.
Well, think about pulling Mo for a minute.
Yeah.
Think about pulling Mo.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would have been a lot of. He might have knocked me out, but
it was easier. It was easier. I don't know. I'm talking a lot right now, but this is really. It was easier blocking San Angelo Central than it was to block you guys.
100%.
It was easier.
100%.
Why is that, Robert? Why?
Both teams are disciplined. The level of intensity at the point of attack, not all this stuff. These guys, after they gave up the big play, they absolutely refused to give that edge up ever again. And the other way around in San Angelo, we started out slow, but in the second half, we owned them at the point of attack. When you're playing a game where you give up and you make a mistake and you say, we're not going to let it happen again, that's one thing, and you don't let it happen again. But if we don't turn the ball over against Central and make the same error at the end of the game that we made against them, giving up the long pass on 4th and 22, we win that game. This game was a shootout. After Ronnie scores, I had no confidence necessarily that we were going to win that game, just because what we were trying to do, we weren't able to do. We weren't able to execute what we were. I'm spending more time trying to get enough depth to get out of the way so I can block for the running back than just getting up the field and finding somebody to make contact. I'm trying to spend the time to get out of the way of the trash. And if it's hard for me, I can imagine what it must be like for them guys there. It's Central. Once we started running the ball and we weren't turning the ball over, we ran pretty much at will.
Yeah, by the way, I was tired of you hitting me at the Hereford game, by the way.
What is that?
I said, I got tired of Robert hitting me. That's how far I was back there. He's trying to drop back and pull, and I'd look up and Robert's hitting me.
He's pushing you back into me. I'm running up your backside.
100%.
Ronnie's running up my backside.
Yeah,
Ronnie,
exactly.
my brother was running up my backside.
I don't know if you heard, you're what, 6'4", and James mentions 5'11". Was he quick? Dean?
Oh, who, James?
No, yeah, you're 6'4", right? 6'3", 6'4"?
Yeah, I was 6'3", 180 at the time. But I mean, it didn't matter. I mean, he was at least half a step probably quicker than I was off the ball. And so
he had his pads under yours.
Yeah, he was already
leveraged.
I was playing catch up is what I was doing. I was just trying to get his weight.
Dean and Robert, if you remember, Coach Sherwood would script the first 10, 15 plays of every game.
Yep.
So the very first play of that Hereford game, if you remember, was a quarterback sprint sweep. The very first play.
He's gonna get you in the game.
I take off sprinting, and I'm following running back, fullback. I'm following them. I didn't even make it to the edge, and somebody had tackled me in the backfield.
Yeah,
that was our very first play.
Well,
I mean, they blew up the line of scrimmage immediately.
Right.
And I
it was
remember
kind of
it
that
well.
whole,
So that tells me
that's the Permian.
that they did a really
Yeah.
good job of scouting that team, scouting us, and scouting the
Yeah.
game plan. They game planned us, and they were very disciplined about that.
Well,
Yeah.
Kerry,
I actually
James,
had this conversation, and I'll shut up after this. I've actually had this conversation with, like, I have friends that played at Central. The guy that was their quarterback ended up being the starting quarterback at Arkansas. You have a friendship there because we played mid Texas, right? And the thing that they talked about is some of the same stuff. They talked about the defense, and then our offense. They had a hard time with the sweep. And what I didn't say to him was it was easier moving you guys off the line of scrimmage than it was to move Hereford. The difference was we made mistakes, and we couldn't really afford to make the mistakes with Hereford. They kept that game contained, almost like they were trying to play keep away until the end of the game or something. Keep us bottled up, don't let us score. They contained the game, and then when they found a place where they could try to, get the ball up in the air over the top, we were out of position. Greg was out of position. It would have been Quinniff. I think it would have been different. And the same thing happened with Central. It was just a great. They stopped. They shut us down. I think we averaged 38 points a game. Maybe I have to go back and look that up. We had a lot of points on the board, and we didn't score that many. We scored twice. Is that right? We scored twice
think so, yeah.
against
Twice.
Hereford. Yeah, it's 21-14.
against them, and we didn't score many more than we scored twice against Central. 15
Central
to
was
14,
20 to 15,
and then they
20 to
scored. It was
15.
20 to 15,
Yep.
and it was almost the same
That's-
score with them, 21 to 14.
Well,
Same.
So
you
at
could
what-
tell that they scouted us.
So at what point, you mentioned earlier, Robert, that at the beginning of the game, you guys thought you had it in the bag. At what point, Plainview, did you feel like, okay, we're screwed, we're defeated, like this game is done, we're not going to move past these guys?
I don't know if I ever felt defeated. I knew we had.
I didn't
Okay.
either.
But
Okay.
I didn't ever feel like we were defeated. I always had a belief that there was going to be, somebody was going to make a play because we had some awesome guys, and somebody was going to make a play at some point.
okay.
I have a question.
It just so
I have a
happened to
question.
be. It just so happened to be Hereford that made the play.
So
Did you ever
y'all
feel
fought
like
all the way
being
to the end. No, go
What,
ahead.
Lisa?
No, I'm like, you had the fight in you until the end.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Robert, what's up?
Well, we got the ball
I just
back
wanted to
after
ask
Charles threw.
Dean, I heard what he said. I wanted to ask him, when we were not able to run the football, you didn't feel like we were in trouble? Because I did.
Oh, I knew we were in trouble. I knew we had our hands full, but I didn't ever feel like, I felt like there was going to be a way for us to win.
I understand.
I don't know. I didn't know what it was, right? I mean, I just felt like, because we had up until that point found a way to win no matter what. And so I just felt like we were going to find a way to win.
Okay.
I agree. We didn't give up.
No, we never
We
gave
had
up.
one of the top rushing offenses in the state. And when we can't run the football, we're going to have to rely on somebody making a mistake in a big play. And man, I didn't have faith in that. I'll be honest with you.
And that's kind of a shame, because I don't know if y'all ever saw Steve George throw football. The boy could spin it.
He could
Well,
throw.
I love Dean. I love
Steve throws and did one of the tightest spirals I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my junior year, Dean, was if I was in trouble and we were throwing, I just looked for you, period. And I could throw it in. I could throw it in the area and you would go get it. Seriously.
And we were in trouble if you hadn't looked for me, man.
So, sorry, Steve, I got to ask this question because I asked for the 82 guys, and maybe I used a harsh word since you were, at Hereford, grew up with these guys, and you came to Plainview. I asked the 82 guys if they put like a bounty on them, and of course, they're like, "No, we didn't. No, it was our boy. It was our friend." And let me rephrase that. When you played against Steve, James, you were defensive end. Did you really want to put a little extra hit on him because he was your friend? It's okay. Be honest.
And you
So
know, I'll
what-
preference that. Hey, James, I'll let you think about that for a minute because, you know, Lisa, you mentioned earlier at the very first that you and Dean, you know, went to first grade together, right? Well, James and Carrie and even Alfred, we started kindergarten together. I mean, that's how far back we go. And
Yeah.
we played football in everybody's yard, you know, growing up for forever. Bowie Newmeyer had the best football yard because it was the longest, you know.
Yeah.
Tim Martin's yard was pretty
Yep.
good, but we played football for a long time. So before you answer that, remember, you know, we've known each other since kindergarten.
You know, it would be easy to say, yeah, I would have liked to have just been able to give Steve a good lick, but I wasn't thinking about that. You know, we were disciplined and we were very much thinking of our assignments and doing what we were supposed to do on the defense. I don't know whether Steve remembers this. I remember it like it was yesterday, still in my mind. I don't know what happened. It's a busted play. Y'all didn't make a handoff, or you know, the receivers weren't open, and I'm crashing down, and I think that I'm about to get Steve and sack him, and he bounces out, and then we've got a sprint to the sideline, and he gets about 5 yards on me. So he had a decent angle, but I was able to run him out of bounds. You know, maybe I got to push him or something like that. You know, I wasn't thinking about the lick on Steve or being able to hit him. I was worried about Coach Compton chewing my ass back when I got to the sideline
Yeah.
for failing on my assignment and not keeping the edge. And I still remember that because I was interviewed about that play back in high school, you know, and we had a little foot race, and you're right, Steve's one of the fastest little white guys you've ever been around. God dang, he's fast.
You know,
Carrie, did you play defense or you meant you were tied in, right?
I played some defense my junior year, but my senior year I played tight end.
So did you want to put a little extra hit on Mr. George?
Well, I mean, like you said, we grew up together, so you know we're all competitive. We're all competitive. We just wanted to win, right?
Right. Well, I'm going to ask you two guys. This is not football related, but can you tell us a little memory from the Phelps brothers pool parties?
Wow.
Oh, I did my homework on these on Hereford
Wow.
guys.
Oh,
The Phelps brothers pool parties.
You mean the Fibs?
The Fibs. I'm sorry, Fibs.
Fibs.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Damn, I
What do you
forgot
know about that?
I forgot about them.
Did you see Kerry's face when he asked that question? It's like somebody asked about
He
Epstein
backed
files
up
or
a
something.
little bit.
Man,
I know.
I don't remember the party hardly, honestly.
Oh, you drank that much, huh?
Yeah, for sure. No, those were some epic parties, man. I'm telling you, those guys had a massive house, a big pool, and it was always fun. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
James.
I never went.
Oh, come on, James.
He's pleading the fifth. Whatever.
Yeah,
I love
I was never there.
Okay, one more personal question. What about John Rodriguez New Year's Eve party, 81 or 82? Did you guys attend that New Year's Eve party? Well, I heard that you did, Carrie.
Oh boy.
I don't even know who that is. John Rodriguez.
Yeah, I don't either.
Mm.
A New
Right.
Year's Eve party?
Uh-huh. I guess it was happened in 81 or 82.
Now we had what we called the Silver Bullet Bash out in
Yes.
the country.
Yeah, that's on here. Civil Bullet Bash was with Christie's, the Christie's, I guess.
Robbie Christie, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or the McConnells.
Yeah, there were a lot of barn dances out at the McConnells, and the Silver Bullet Bash was 6 miles west of town, and I can't remember whose barn that was in. But I've actually got a ticket from the Silver Bullet Bash on my bulletin board over here still. And
Wow. Wow.
can you
Damn.
believe this? You know, I think enough time has gone by, but can you believe Coors allowed a bunch of 17 and 18-year-old boys to go buy 20, 25 kegs and throw a party for 500 people?
Damn.
I can believe it back then.
That's the good old days, man.
Yeah.
Right?
You know, and I look back on, you know, I'm a lawyer now. I defend these kinds of cases, and I just look back and think, holy cow, I'm glad nobody
Damn.
had a wreck or anything like that after that party.
So I know we in Plainview, it was a dry county. Was what was y'all's county? Remind me again.
Yes,
Jeff Smith.
Yes, man. Was that what you guys dry as
Yeah,
well?
it was dry.
So did you guys go to? We went to Nazareth, which I never went to Nazareth
Yeah,
because people bought for me.
Yeah,
But
you.
where did you guys go to get your alcohol?
Dimmitt, I think.
Well, that was halfway between Hereford and Dimmitt. There were 2 or 3 liquor
Yeah.
stores out there.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you drive out to the beer stores and buy your beer and then drink your beer driving back into town and throw the empties at the highway signs.
Mhm. Mhm.
Good days.
I did not do that, but I think Terry did.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, right.
Well, Tackle, how many trips did you make to Nazareth?
So because I was bigger for my age, I got kind of like given the list. Everybody would fill out a notebook paper with whatever it was, then they'd give me the money, and I'd drive to Nazareth, and I had a 1976 Ford Maverick that was baby blue, so pretty indiscreet, right? And I'd go out there and I would give the guy at the liquor store in Nazareth my list, and I'd go next door and grab a barbecue sandwich. I would sit on the front porch. He would fill all that stuff out, and I'd hand me the money, and I'd head back. One time I was heading back, and obviously my Maverick is riding a little low in the back. I get pulled over by the highway patrol, and he said, "Hey, you know, I just kind of noticed, looked like you're carrying a load here." And I'm like, "No, sir, he goes, "You mind if I look in your trunk?" Yeah, I kind of do, but I guess you're going to anyway. So I had to pop the trunk, and there's, I don't know how many cases of beer and all the other Ripple and the whatever else everybody was drinking. And he goes, "You know," he said, "I'm going to do you a solid. I need you to pour all that out."
Wow.
I'm like, "Damn, all right." So I start pouring all this out. And he said, the second part, what you don't understand is you're going to put all those empties back in your trunk, and you're going to take them back, and you're going to show them that you actually did go get it. You just got caught bringing it back. So I pulled into the Gibson's parking lot there in Plainview and had to open my trunk, and everybody's money that they had well invested was just pretty much gone because it was
How
on the
long
side
did
of the
it?
highway.
How long did it take you to pour every freaking beer?
It was, I mean, I was there probably 30, 45 minutes anyway. I mean, I was doing 2 at a time. I was trying to get the hell out of there, right? It wasn't like I was, it wasn't like this is, you know, some sad thing. I was just like happy I wasn't going to jail.
I thought you drove a Fiat. Was it a Fiat?
I did have a Fiat my maybe senior year. I did have a Fiat. Yeah. Fiat X19, a silver one.
Yeah, we had to like wedge you out of there.
Yeah. That was the worst mistake ever.
I remember the baby blue though.
Yeah.
I remember the baby blue.
The baby
Yeah.
blue. You
Yeah.
could turn the air cleaner over and it sounded like a real car, right?
Yep.
By the way,
So,
Lydia. Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
No, I was speaking of alcohol. You know, Plainview had a couple of bootleggers. Did Hereford have anybody selling booze on the side?
Not that I was aware of.
Yeah, me either.
I don't know about the bootleggers. I've learned all this doing the podcast because I did not drink in high
Hey,
school.
I went to Miss Helen's. I love Miss Helen's.
Oh yeah.
I went to Miss Helen's.
There you go. Tim.
Hey, Beard and Payne, whoever it was, they're probably dead now. You can tell, bro. They're probably long gone, so it's
Come
not
on,
going to be the
counselor.
thing.
Right.
Tim, did you fancy Miss Helen's any or
Me? No.
yeah, you.
I don't have to worry about none of that because I always went to the liquor store with my older brothers, so they always thought I was always old enough to get liquor at Nashville. So I used to go buy all the liquor for a whole bunch of people back in them days, but I didn't drink it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I didn't take my first drink until I went to Austin because I was scared of bear.
Tell you this. Do you remember
Really,
that time?
Robert? Oh, okay.
Hey, Mike, I'm gonna ask you this. Do you remember this time we had a party over to Quinta's house? Quinta Dunlap.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Miss Ruby.
Yep.
Yes. And she was we had so much liquor over there.
Yeah, Miss Ruby served me several drinks.
And Willie McGee, he was the police officer.
Right.
Yeah, his uncle, Quinta's uncle.
So,
Yep.
Therefore, he used to when they used to go confiscate all the beer and stuff, beer would be everywhere. And we'd go there and have a party with Quinta's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember being over Quinn's house a lot.
Yeah, we'd be over Quinta's house because Willie had all that beer and stuff, and they'd be drinking. I'm not mean, but they would because I wasn't that type of person.
Did he live off of Joliet or Kokomo? I forgot.
Kokomo, I thought.
Yeah.
Were y'all drinking during the football season, any?
Huh?
Oh no. Well, everyone's supposed
Somebody
to.
did because they had to run one time. Remember that?
Oh yeah, you remember that time I got drunk and I had got drunk at lunch.
You just said a while ago you weren't drinking.
I know, but that's
And you saw his face.
Eric was at lunchtime. Me and Eric, and he was out of school. No, he was out of school, and he came and picked us up, and we go over to his house. And me and Rand Johnson out there, and I go in the field house, we working out, we running and stuff, and I throw up. Coach Sherwood said, I was throwing up. He said, "That's what I like to see everybody. He's working so hard, he's throwing up." I was drunk. B. Terrell always remind me. Every time I see B. Terrell, he always remind me of that.
Oh, I think the 82 guys.
He told that
right?
story on that podcast with all of us.
Yeah, with 82.
Yes, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they
Me,
mentioned you.
Yeah, he did.
B. Terrell said, "Coach Sherwood, he's drunk." Coach Sherwood said, "No, he's not. He's working out."
Laying it on the line.
Yeah, we lunchtime and got drunk.
I remember again, rest in peace, Johnny Escobar.
Yeah.
He was running up and down the bleachers, and that's when someone told me he's hunting Easter eggs.
Right.
So,
Right.
What about you guys? Did Coach Compton, if they caught you guys drinking or anything like that, well, I mean, what would happen?
Carrie, I don't really remember us drinking much during the season.
Yeah.
After we get beaten, we're not in the playoffs. That's when some of our partying started because you're out of school by 2:30. You're not playing football, and but during the football season, hardly anybody stepped out. And I remember one player one time. I'm not going to mention any names, but he got run for a while. Are you remembering an event, Carrie?
Yeah, vaguely.
Oh, somebody, you remember running?
Yeah.
Hey, Steve George.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Am I the only one that notices each time that question's asked, Kerry Beard's like he knows everything, but he ain't confessing a thing.
He was always the quiet one, man.
He was
Always.
He was
Always.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Probably the
That's funny.
CIA. He probably knows everything.
Yeah.
That is
So,
funny.
Carrie and James, when you guys roll into, I guess, junior year, you played us in Plainview. Every time you rolled into Plainview, were you guys nervous? I mean, how did the students or fans treat Hereford?
I think it's respectful. I mean, they were always it was a tough place to play, obviously. But I think for the most part, everyone was very, polite to our fans and to the players. For the most part, I honestly don't remember any ill will towards players or fans. Do you remember, James?
I don't. I don't remember playing anywhere where we got treated badly or mistreated or anything like that. I remember that
Lubbock
junior
High?
year. Really, no, because Lubbock High, their program, frankly, was not where our programs were at that time.
Yeah, that's fair.
So,
That's fair.
in Lubbock High, I hate to say this, but I don't know whether even all their parents showed up for their games. They just did not travel well, and they didn't have very many people in the stands, and so never felt anything about them. That it wasn't a tough game. I don't know whether half their kids even wanted to play football because they were not at where we were, Lubbock High.
I think
I guess we just had Robert starting shit after the game with us in Lubbock High.
Yeah, but hey, Steve and Robert, when we had the 82 guys from Hereford, didn't Arbery or Don mention that there was one game that they went maybe their young year that they said they threw rocks at their buses? The Plainview people threw
Plainview
rocks at them.
fans threw at their buses.
Yeah.
Is that right, or is the other way around?
No. Plainview threw rocks at their football bus.
Yeah. Plainview fans threw at them. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, there was.
I don't think it was that many people though that were involved in that.
Lisa, you were part of it. Shut up.
Carrie, you remember that, Carrie?
And she was a cheerleader.
No,
Go like, fuck Hereford.
Well, I mean, we both had police escorts in and out of town, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the level of the rivalry, which to me made it really cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't a disrespect thing. It was just that we just knew that y'all were that good and we were that good, and that was just the level of competition at the time.
Yeah.
I want to say, yeah, I want to say something about that in terms of the rivalry, because Compton and Sherwood set a level of standards for our towns that commanded respect, not just from the players and everybody else, but from all the and the involvement of the booster club, that your parents, all the people in town, like, it raised the bar. Yes, there was a big rivalry, but the respect was always there. And so for the most part, other than that one incident, people behaved because this was really important. It was a respectful rivalry, but it was the coaches who set that standard.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think that's also what brought so many people from both teams to the opposing teams' games.
It was
just built up the excitement.
It was always fun in Plainview, the week of Hereford, right? Because the buzz started on Monday.
Yep.
The buzz started on Monday. Yeah.
And it just built all the way through Friday. And it wasn't just from a player standpoint or coach's standpoint, but it was a town standpoint.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, hey, this is a different week than most weeks.
Right. But Sherwood had a lot to do with the buy-in of the community being
100%.
involved.
Buy-in.
100%.
Absolutely.
He united Coach Sherwood united a whole town.
Did y'all have people coming to watch y'all practice?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did too. There'd be townspeople, there'd be 15 or 20 people watching us practice.
That's the mark of a great man.
Yeah.
That could get a town behind a bunch of little high school boys playing football.
Right.
But y'all forgot where he came from.
Stratford.
Yes.
Where
Coach Sherwood came from a place where they had always won state.
Yep.
He was in a little bitty town that was
Sherman, right?
Sherman.
Town that they always. No, it wasn't Sherman.
They paid him a
Spearman.
lot of money.
Dial
Spearman,
Hart.
Spearman,
Spearman,
Spearman.
Spearman.
Yeah.
You know, it takes a Hereford guy to remember where your coach is from.
That's where he come
Yeah,
from.
it does.
Absolutely it does. Absolutely it does.
State all the time back then. He
Yeah.
wanted
Yeah.
to stay. And they paid a lot of money to Plainview.
So,
You know,
what guys,
Payne,
Plainview guys, real
I
quick.
like to tell Kerry and Payne this. We're talking about respect and stuff. I had teammates in Austin that remembered Hereford, that talked about how tough. The guys at Lake Highland, right?
Oh yeah.
Kirk McJunkin and
Yeah.
those guys, and they had a real good. Michael Brown went to Texas as a running back out of there. Y'all played him, and they talked about not being sure if they was going to win that game playing you guys either. You were tough. Talking about your defense.
Nice.
So, Plainview guys, was it Hereford that supposedly wrote spray painted HHHHS on in our field?
Yeah, it was supposed to be Hereford, but it was the coaches.
They also sent like a wreath.
Yeah.
Remember they sent like a wreath too.
Yeah.
That was probably Coach Sherwood too.
Oh no, that he
No.
motivated us that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that Coach Sherwood
Yeah.
Now,
had that done.
but
Smart.
guys,
Smart.
there is on the 82 podcast, someone wrote from Hereford. No, I know the guys who did it from Hereford.
Right.
So I don't know. Could have been Kerry, could have been James.
Kerry, did you even hear about that? Did you know about that?
No?
I did
I don't
not.
think so. Yeah.
Was it our senior year, Steve?
Would have been
Or junior year?
Would have been my
Robert?
junior year.
Okay.
Senior year.
Yeah, this is the first I've heard of it.
Yeah.
I mean, we got this. Coach Sherwood sat us down in the locker room and read us this note and had a big wreath that was sent to us by, Hereford people or Hereford, the team or whatever of, y'all don't have a chance. Why y'all even showing up? That type of stuff,
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
That had to have been your coach manipulating you guys.
100%.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Smart coach.
And
We believed it back then, though.
Yeah.
We believed.
thought that.
Hell yeah.
Hereford was responsible for
what was
the alien
happening.
crop circle out there by the Hill County Ag Center
Yeah.
with HHS in the middle of it.
Yeah.
They did that too.
Yeah, I can tell you guys that looking at your sizes and weights on our board before the game, we wouldn't have done anything like that to rile you guys up.
So you guys went and did the bags of shit, light the fire, the bag of shit, knock
Yep.
on the door,
Right,
run.
yeah.
So Robert, I always ask you guys this, and Robert, I've asked you. This is my third time.
I'm gonna
and I
lie
want you
again.
to tell
I'm just
these
telling
guys.
you before you ask. It's going to tell you a damn lie.
No, you're gonna bring up. I know what you're gonna say. We all remember the people we hit on those plays. We knocked the shit out of them. But I've always asked, do you remember a play that knocked you on your ass? Robert, this is your third time, but Kerry and Dean and Tim and James hadn't heard this.
So he's asking this question because it was a Hereford player, but it wasn't in high school, it was in college. And it's Aubrey. And Aubrey earholed me. He caught me I didn't see him until too late. And when I did see him, he pretty much decapitated me. He really did. It was a beautiful hit. And he hit me with such force. Like Tim was saying, you leave your feet. When I hit the back of my head and shoulders, and my feet literally wrapped around his waist. He hit me so hard, my legs wrapped around it, like we were dating or something, right? I bit through my mouthpiece.
Wow.
I get up and I go to the sideline, and I have you when you get a concussion, sometimes you'll get a blood shot. You burst a vessel in your eye. Have you ever like pink eye maybe, right?
Yes.
I had that for like 3 days, man. And I get to the sideline, and my teammates are like looking at me like, "Oh," man. I won't say what was said, but they like, "Man, you got jacked up pretty much." And he had a guy on here named Urban Davis, and I don't want to talk for other people, and I won't say what Irvin said, but he was encouraging me to get back out on the field and do something to that white boy. You gotta go do something to this boy who just took your head off, man. And I'm trying to stop slobbering. I'm trying to get I'm telling you, it was hard for me to even focus. I hit that Lubbock Jones Stadium turf, concrete with a thing on the back of my head, bam, and I bit right through my mouthpiece.
Wow.
The force
You know what's
I bit
awful
right
fast
through
for a
my
big
mouthpiece.
big guy.
You want to know what's
But is
funny,
it-
Robert? Is when I moved back from Atlanta, I had to live in Atlanta for a year. Don't ever do that, by the way. I had to live in Atlanta for a year. And when I moved back from Atlanta, I moved back to Lubbock. And I had to move all my finances, money, all that stuff, and, you know, establish a bank there where I was. Aubrey Richburg takes care of my money. And I told him the day that I walked in there, I said, I don't know that I'm comfortable with anybody from Hereford looking after my money. Aubrey is the same cut as the Don Delozer. You're not gonna find a better human, but he was a damn good football player too.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something about Aubrey. He gonna
Agreed.
clean you up and he gonna give it back to you. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know,
So Dean,
he gonna catch you not looking though. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Well, fair enough.
all right, Dean, what about you, brother? Anybody knock you on your ass?
Man, yeah. I mean, every game.
Well,
Yeah,
specific.
I wasn't fast enough to outrun anybody, so I was always getting hit. So I mean, I don't know that I remember necessarily in high school. You know, somebody we hadn't talked about is Lubbock Estacado, and that was our first game of the year every year.
Totally agree.
And
Steve brought him
some
up.
of those boys,
That defensive end, man.
I'm telling you, some of
Curtis
those
Shivers,
boys,
yeah.
I mean, if you made it through that game unscathed, then you were ready for the rest of the year.
Okay. What
That's
about you, Tim?
definitely-
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead,
They
Steve.
were physical.
That's definitely the hardest I was ever hit was Lubbock Estacado, Dean.
Yeah.
And we ran a 318 waggle. I keep it. Think I got the corner, and generally, if I turn the corner and there's nothing there, then I could score.
Yeah.
Well, I turned the corner, nothing was there. All of a sudden, I get ear-hoed on the side, and I wake up on the track.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it said defensive
That was probably
end.
my fault.
No, it wasn't your fault, but it was
That was
the
probably my fault.
backside defensive end from Lubbock Estacado that ear-hoed me
Yeah.
from the other side of the field, and I never saw him. Never saw
That's a
him.
full run, man. That's
Wow.
He could run.
Oh
Curtis
my
could run.
God.
He could run. He went to school with Brett Mayberry, Dean.
Yes.
Robert
he was
remembers
married when he
him.
went.
Yeah.
He had a family.
Yeah.
It was tough.
Well, Tim, you mentioned was it Lubbock High? I'm sorry.
Uh,
Monterey.
Hey.
Was that your hard hit?
Yeah, there was a time, and I
That
tell you,
was-
the next time I got out there, I got him.
Did you-
I was trying to
So
tackle
the
anybody. I
play was on the right side. You were chasing his ass on the left side, huh? Didn't matter.
hit him. He
Yeah.
caught me slipping. This time I caught him slipping. So I just hit it. I hit him just right upside his head, and he got up, he looked at me, and the next time I never seen him again. I don't know who he was or where he came from, but I know I had to get him the next time on the kickout. I wasn't even worried about trying to tackle nobody. I had to find him. He was number 25.
25.
James, so what about you, man?
My senior year, no. I don't remember anybody really laying me out, but I remember junior year against Fort Worth Eastern Hills in the playoffs. The guy from their team laid me out pretty good, and I was thinking, okay, this is real. This is what good players are like, and but it was like Robert was mentioning, it was kind of an ear hole thing, and I didn't see him until it was too late to do anything. And then next thing you know, you're just on your back going, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned Eastern Hills, James. I played college ball with a guy named Randy Parham that played middle linebacker for them.
Probably him.
And he probably was about 165 pounds and could hit harder than any human. I mean, even as freshman or sophomore on scout team or whatever in college, I didn't want no part of him.
I don't too.
Mm.
Isn't that funny how you run across some people who just really know how to hit?
It is.
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
I mean, and there was no reason why he played middle linebacker in college at 165, 170 pounds.
Wow.
And would just light people up. I mean, he was a highlight film every week.
Okay.
It might have had something to do with a couple of rails of cocaine he did before every game. I don't know.
Could have. Could have.
What about you, Kerry?
Well, actually, I've got two. And they're both last name is Richburg. Aubrey nailed me in practice one day, and I mean, I didn't see him coming, and I mean, that man, it's got some force behind him, and knocked me out. And I mean, little birdies were. I mean, I couldn't remember the next play.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. And then actually his father gave me a good licking in junior high. I mean, it was the hardest hit I've ever had.
Really?
He was a principal.
He was a
and I got sent to
principal.
the principal's
Yeah,
office
he
and
was
got good
principal.
They
licking.
told that story, guys. They
And
told
man,
they were
I'm
talking
telling you,
about
woo.
Aubrey's dad giving licks.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want no part of that.
Yes.
Well, he's probably the McBee of our school.
Oh
The
my
McBee
God.
was like 5'5", 5'6", but he would put a tear on Robert, Mo Evans, Dean Tackle. Didn't matter how big your ass
I
was.
sat there.
He
A
would-
lefty. He was a
Yeah.
lefty.
I sat there
He swung it.
and me and Mo got in trouble one time. We set off some fire extinguishers, I think. And we were down there and Larry hit Mo. So you had to grab the arm of the chair. Larry hit
Yep.
Mo and knocked a contact out of his eye.
Oh,
Contact is laying in the seat of the chair. I'm next.
oh,
I'm begging for D.
I would have left.
I said, you know what? I just want some D Hall. You know, just let me stay after school for a couple of hours every day. I don't want you hitting me. That's a true story.
Yeah.
I
Dean
wonder if
hit
Larry-
me so hard that I went into shock. I'm serious. He hit me so hard, I stood up and turned and looked at him like I was in shock. And he thought I was actually trying to bow up to fight him. And Dean Wood kind of saved me a little bit because McBee backed away and went around that desk like, Robert, you better not. And the whole time I wasn't even thinking about touching him. I was like, just electricity going through me. And I'll never forget, Dean Wood was like, Larry's in shock. He hit me so hard, I stood up and was just, I'm like, you know, he was impressive. But, you know, I'll say this, and then I'll shut up about that. As hard as that was, I'm still giving the glory to Bear. My dad hit harder than this cat. And that's hard. You know, Bear outweighed him 200 pounds. But if I'm going to say any administrator or whatever, I don't think there's a soul on the planet in the school system harder than little bitty Larry. But he hit me so hard I went into shock.
Well, first
You know
off,
what? He went to her. He was a Hereford teacher. I
didn't
remember
know
that. Yeah.
McBee was?
What?
Larry McBee was?
No, maybe not. No, there was
No.
a teacher that came with Coach Sherwood. Maybe Mr. Woods.
Maybe Dean Wood.
Ron Woods. I think Ron Woods did.
Yeah,
sorry.
he was our senior dean.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, Coleman. Did you get your ass licks, and when did you get your first ones? And
No,
who gave them to you?
I never did get in that kind of situation.
Shit.
I never was in that situation.
Tim,
You
amongst friends, bro.
Yeah, but
What about Mr. Smith, Tim?
I wasn't gonna take no licks because I wasn't that person. I was a nice guy.
Hey, Tim, what about Mr. Smith? Pat Smith's dad.
Oh well, Pat Smith, dad, he never did even. I never did really fool with it. He was just a referee.
He was a math teacher and he gave licks too.
Yeah, but see, I never did get in trouble like that. Cause back then, believe it or not, I was quiet.
You
You
were
were kind of your
quiet.
best friend. I hung out with you. Yeah, I know what you did. But I mean, I was kind of quiet too, and I still ended
In
up
other
with-
words, he's calling bullshit on you, Tim. Come on.
Smartest person in the world. You know what happened to me? Something happened to me, and then I guess after my junior years, when I wasn't as quiet as I normally was. My junior year, is when I came out of my shell.
Okay.
I will say to Robert's point, I don't know that there wasn't a person in Plainview that wasn't scared of bear.
I live with him.
Including me.
First off,
Including me.
yeah, first off, it's Mr. Bear.
Yep.
and if Larry McBee hit Robert hard enough to hurt him, that may be the only person I ever know that could hit Robert hard enough to hurt him.
He put me in shock, Dean.
Dude.
I literally didn't know where I was standing for about 15 seconds. I was just kind of like this, like.
Yeah, because you didn't
almost like
expect a
what
little
just
guy
happened.
to hit you that hard.
Huh?
Yeah, you didn't expect that. You didn't expect a
He hit
small
me
man.
underneath
No.
right underneath the cheek, high upper thigh area, upper hamstring,
Ooh.
and lifted me up.
Mhm.
And I stood up and I just turned. I didn't say anything. I just stared at him.
Yeah, when
Mr. Wood had enough wherewithal, like, Larry, he's in shock. Hell yeah, I was in shock.
hey, when I saw that contact pop out, a little bit of pee ran down my leg. I thought for damn sure this is going to be the end of it right here. And then the worst part of it is if you got busted up in school, then you got to go out to the field house and you get busted up out there too.
No shit.
Put to work.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, my dad was like, boy, my mom was that way when she was alive.
So did you get it home too?
School, you had to come home.
I had the trifecta. Michael, I had the trifecta.
Yes, you did.
I had it if I got it at school, got it at the field house, and then I get it at home.
You get it at home.
Damn, but you probably got a belt at home, didn't you?
It was belted home. He didn't bring his paddle home.
Ooh. Your dad wasn't a small man.
No,
Jerry Don wasn't playing either.
Yeah.
No, he wouldn't.
Carrie, hold on. Carrie's all quiet over there.
He always is, man.
What about you, brother? You got your ass whooped. Come on.
No, I was the first one who got this started. Richburg busted my ass.
Yeah.
They're talking about licks at school.
Oh, no, he's talking about his dad, Mr. Richburg. He did start this.
Mr. Richburg, yeah.
Yes.
He did.
Yeah, I heard that I heard he was tough with a paddle.
I never went back after that. I was a good boy.
Let me tell you a secret about McBee's paddle swing. He knew that if he hit you low, aiming high, that he was going to get some nerve centers around the piriformis. You know what sits behind that? Your sciatic nerve.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. And if he hit you in a way, he knew not to hurt you, but he was going to hurt you in a way that you were going to feel it. And so it didn't matter how small he was. It was strategy. He knew where to hit and how hard to hit.
He also had holes in it, so it would create velocity on his swing speed coming into you.
Yeah, that boy had about 115 mile an hour club head.
Yeah, he did. He sure did. Lefty
Yes,
too.
he did.
Yeah.
Lisa, you said the sciatic nerve. Lisa said the sciatic nerve, and all these years I thought it was the release button that he was hitting. Hit that button and it releases and dump in your drawers when he hits you.
All I knew is I didn't want another one.
No. Most people that got hit by him is a one and done.
Yeah.
So guys, we're getting close to the end of time. So I have a question that's not sports related. Is there a teacher or administrator besides coaches? Because we know how much your coaches impacted you, that really helped you, impacted you, left an indelible imprint that just really helped you. So I'm going to start with you, Carrie. And it doesn't have to be high school. I mean, just a teacher who really impacted you.
Actually, it was a coach. It was Coach Taylor. I had him in history, and I learned a lot from that man, and had a great deal of respect. But yeah, he went on to be a very successful coach after that. But definitely Coach Taylor for me.
So
when he said successful,
teacher,
where did it go? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Was it he went to Idalou in one state and had a very successful career at Idalou, just right outside of Lubbock.
Okay.
Excellent. James?
I'd go back to coaches, but Carrie, do you remember who that booster was? Or he was a teacher in Hereford, always wore that Hereford #1 around his neck in high school. I can't remember. He taught
I do.
biology, and if I was looking at somebody, that would have been him, but I just cannot recall the name right now. And 10 minutes ago, I could have told you, but since you put me on the spot, I'm having a secret moment. And it seems to be happening a lot more these days that I just can't recall.
Absolutely.
Was it Kelso? Mr. Kelso?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Kelso.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember Mr. Kelso.
Yeah.
So why did he impact you? What was it about Mr. Kelso?
Well, I was good in biology and the sciences at that time. I proved not to be later in life, but I was all right then. And, so I spent a lot of time in his class. And I think, if I'm trying to remember right, that I was a teacher's aide or something for his class. And
Teacher's pet, maybe?
Yeah. So sometimes we would talk and just about life and, what are plans and things like that. And so he was a good influence. And plus, he was about as positive a man as you could ever be around. And that was wonderful.
Good.
And as you might imagine, from a guy who
Yeah.
is the perennial Hereford booster, wearing Hereford #1 around he wore that necklace every day.
Nice.
Dane, what about you?
Yeah.
Lisa, you may remember her. Her name was Miss Fennell.
I loved her.
She was what, 3rd grade, I believe? I think she was 3rd grade, and she kind of like the Coach Sherwood deal. Never put pressure on you, but you never ever wanted to let her down.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just the way she came across things and the way she taught and whatever. She would never say you're wrong or you're whatever, but she would always encourage you to be better. And as good as you think you are, you can be better than what you are. And so, it goes back all the way to 3rd grade. If we're just going to talk teachers and stuff like that, I've been blessed with numerous people in my life that have influenced me in a positive way. But as far back as I can remember, I would have to say Miss Fennell.
Miss Fennell.
I was going to, is that Romy Fennell's wife?
Nah, it could have been, right? It could have been, brother.
Yeah, it could have been. But, Miss Fennell made you feel loved.
Yeah, she did.
And so she made you feel, that's the one thing that I remember about her. She made you feel loved. And so you wanted to do good by her.
Yeah, she was more, in a weird kind of way, she was more like your grandmother than she was a teacher. And, you just never ever want to let her down.
Right. That's the thing I remember about her. I love that lady.
Yeah.
Steve?
I think I go coach first because I had so many numerous teachers that were very influential in my life. But I think of the biggest person that was most influential in my life was a coach, and that's Coach Steve Parr. He was also a dear friend of my dad, but my whole high school career, it doesn't matter whether it was football, basketball, golf, whatever it was, baseball, he was always there, for me, always talking to me, always coaching me, always a mentor to me. And to this day, we still talk all the time. So, he's very influential in my life. And I think he's, just a very, very impactful person in my life.
One of the great things about Coach Parr is that he took interest in everyone, not just athletes.
Yeah.
There were several times that I was walking home. It was before I had my car, and he'd see me walking and he'd pull over and say, "Get in," and we just had great conversations. He was just super, super nice. And I just, he was just a good mentor. He was just there for kids.
He was.
Yeah,
Yep,
it wasn't
agreed.
just athlete. So he was a really good man for sure. Mr. Coleman.
Mrs. Henderson. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if y'all remember Mrs. Henderson.
Yeah.
She was always on. She always tell Tim, you gotta do better. She was always Miss Henderson. That's the person that always, and
Was she, hey, Tim, was she the history teacher in high school?
that was
Her husband.
Yeah, her husband was it.
Mr. Henderson, yeah.
And she was in the 7th or 8th grade.
Okay.
Yeah. She was at Coronado, I think.
Yeah, she always, and even until they died and stuff. She said, Tim, the last time I seen her, she said, I'm so proud of you. But the last time she always was on me. She said, you got to do better, Tim. And I don't know what I was doing that I need to do better, but that's all she anyway.
Tim, you haven't changed one bit since high school, man. You haven't changed one bit.
I love it. I love it.
Me
And
too.
neither has his wife. They're very cute together.
But you know what? We've been together forever.
Yeah.
It's Mr. and Mrs. Tim Herring.
Whoa. Hey, husband, what the hell are you talking about?
Mr. Braddock, what about you, brother?
Well, I think Steve and some others said there's more than one person, guys. Last time I did the coaches, but when we're talking just teachers, my first experience with a principal was Roman Fennell. He prepared us to be bused to College Hill, and he didn't just send us. We had a pep talk in how to conduct ourselves and how to make everybody proud, how to integrate into that brand new culture we was about to go into. And then I think of names like Edith Branch and Wanda Weeks, Wanda Weeks, before I even knew who she was, she showed me love because I was somebody else's child. Before I ever really knew them, she was very loving towards me as a substitute teacher, made me feel very welcome. And same thing with Edith Branch. In high school, I did have Alfred Henderson, and that was a critical point where everything you do is under scrutiny, and you need to make your mother proud. She had been gone maybe 3 years at the time that he said that. I know everybody has a very different personal experience in their hometowns in Plainview and stuff. And just like anybody else, I had issues also, but I truly do have a fondness in spite of whatever. I have a fondness for the people that were willing to be professional and show love to everybody else's kids. You know what I mean? And so those are the names. Roman Fennell got me ready to get started. Daryl Selke, he's a coach. I wasn't going to mention coaches. Big difference maker. Huge difference maker. I'm looking at my power bar. If you lose me, it's not that I got emotional and hung up on you. I didn't bring my power cord out of my bedroom and I'm too damn lazy to.
Well, let's go ahead and jump into our parting words. So, Robert, I think you're frozen.
Yeah,
So,
he's froze.
Steve, let's go with you because I know you got to get off soon. So,
I
parting
do.
words,
I got to pick up my daughter here from orientation. My parting words are: this is actually special to me because Carrie is, part of my life. James Payne is a part of my life. Dean Tickle's a part of my life. Robert's a part of my life. Tim's a part of my life. I'm saying on Facebook, I'm the lucky guy because I know everybody in both towns. And it was a lot of stress for me back in those days. I remember I loved the competition, but you know what? I love the guys on Hereford, and I loved my teammates, and I wanted to win just as bad as I possibly could win, just as much as anybody else. But you know what? There was never any hate. There was always love on both sides for my side. I remember Coach Sherwood during the week, he would share with me that he would leave me alone because he knew that it was, very stressful for me, because that's where these are the guys I grew up with. But he knew the competitor that I was, that I wanted to win. So I love seeing these guys. Thanks, Michael, for putting it together. Lisa, thanks for putting it together.
Mhm.
I haven't talked to James in a really long time, and we've been texting back and forth lately. And, Kerry and I have stayed up together, throughout the years, and I know where he's at. He knows where I'm at. I haven't seen Dean in forever, so it's fantastic to see Dean. Haven't seen Tim since we left high school. So
Take it back. Go back to about 86, 87. I come over to your dad's house. You was going
I do remember that.
And here's the killer part about it. We were supposed to meet out at the club, this cowboy club in Oklahoma City.
Yes, we were.
We was gonna meet. What was the name of that bar? That's in Oklahoma City.
Cowboys.
Yeah, Cowboys in Oklahoma City. We were supposed to meet up because we left.
Yes.
You never called.
Yeah.
I said, well. Yeah.
You're right. Well, I apologize for not calling.
Oh,
Good to see you.
All right. That was in 1986, 87, 86.
Yeah, I was in college. Yeah.
Yeah. You was up at Weatherford.
Southwestern Oklahoma. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where you were. Mm-hmm.
All right. Dean, what about you, brother?
Man,
Well, hey, before you say something,
Yeah.
I'm gonna share a story. We all played football. It was either a park or a piece of land, and it was muddy, and we all were like head to toe muddy. Do you remember what you did? I'm not going to mention it. If you remember how you got yourself clean.
No, I don't remember.
Okay, I'm not going to mention it then.
But
I don't
there's
want to
no
embarrass
telling.
you. I don't want to embarrass you, brother.
No, it's all right. I've been embarrassed my whole life. No, I'm and I do remember those days, Flo, and I mean I love those days, and I think about them fondly. And going back to kind of a little bit what Robert said, when we grew up, Plainview was a different town, and I wish to God we as a nation could go back to a different time.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that we can get on this deal and we can talk with these guys. And we were competitors, and we wanted to beat the brains out of each other, but there was a mutual respect, and there's a lot of love. And you can go back now and you can shake hands and hug necks and do the whole deal. I love that, and I love that about competition, and I love that about just really just kind of just being humans. And hey, we all have our faults. We've all had downfalls, and we've all had successes. So let's just celebrate successes. Thank y'all for y'all's time, man. I love this. Flo, I'm willing to do this every week if you want to do it with whomever. I don't care, just because.
As long as we have these, right?
Well, I just love the fact that this is where we came from.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of what formed us as people, and each form of life. And so we're all from different walks of life now. Mm-hmm. But we have some of that. I mean, our fortunes now were based on what we've been talking about for the last 2 hours.
Right.
We learned how to be competitors. We learned how to be people. We learned how to love each other, no matter our differences.
I got one thing to say.
There you go.
I got one thing to say.
Come on.
You and Robert Braddock, y'all don't never come to the high school reunions. Where are y'all at?
You know what, Tim? I tell you what. If you'll be at the next one, I'll be at the next one.
Okay. Well, I'm always there with bells on, and then you know what happened when I get there? Mike and Lisa them tell me that I'm arrogant, kind of, sort of.
Hey, you know what?
Bullshit.
Really?
Hey, Tim, if you will to dress up, I'm going to dress up, brother.
Hey, whoa. Hey,
Whoa,
Friday
Mike,
night.
Mike,
Hold on.
Mike.
Friday night of our 40th reunion, he came with a jersey on and the football helmet, Red football helmet. He did.
I don't doubt that.
I ain't mad at him.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I did. I had the helmet. I had the helmet on. I had my jersey on. And
It was
Kirk,
tight like a motherfucker.
30
Excuse my
oh,
language.
you know what?
30
He's still wearing. But you know what? Kirk said he couldn't even put his sleeve in his shirt. But I had it. But my football helmet wasn't tight because you know what? My head is still small.
Was that Renee? Yeah, Renee.
Well, thank you very much. So,
Hey,
Where's
hey,
Renee? Can we have a cameo with Renee? Yeah, have her come up on the camera.
come here, Renee. Renee said no. Come here, Renee. She ain't coming over here because she know I'm the big dog. And then you
All
talk.
right. All right, Mr. Herring.
Hey.
Let's hear your parting words.
Oh, yeah. But you know what? I really enjoyed this, and I'm really glad to see. I'm glad to see Dean. I'm glad to see Steve. I ain't seen them in so long, and I see Robert. Me and Robert talked, and I came up. You know, me and Robert. I ain't seen Robert in about 500 years neither. About 550 years, but we talked. I said, "We're about the reunion, Robert." Robert never shows neither, Dean. So don't feel bad. Where Robert at? He gone?
He gone.
Yeah,
His computer.
his battery died.
He froze up.
His computer.
He gone.
I'll get Robert to the next one.
But I talk to him all the time, but he always said, well, he gonna come down through here, or I'm gonna come up there and meet him. But all of a sudden he don't never show or whatever. But you know, I think and Quinton was down here about 2 months ago.
I'd like to see Quinn.
Yeah, he came down here 2 months ago. He came down here, he was doing something for his job and stuff. He was down here, so me and him hung out a long time. We drunk 1 or 2, 3, 4 beers.
No.
We talked about it.
Hey,
yeah.
hey, James, I appreciate you and Carrie being on here, man. I believe it or not, I remember y'all like it was yesterday, man.
Me
And I mean, we had some great battles, and dude, I really, really enjoyed doing this. This was a lot of fun.
Good. I'm glad you did, Dean. James, what's about your parting words, man?
You know, I remember Plainview as being kind of an enemy way back when, you know, and Dean blocked me nearly every play, or Robert Braddock did. And I actually like you guys. I think we just grow fine people up in the Texas Panhandle.
Oh, I totally agree with that, James.
100%.
Yeah.
Carrie?
Hey, thanks, Lisa and Flo, for putting this together. Always good to see my buddy Steve and James and outside dog. I like that, Dean. I like that outside dog. You know, Dean, I remember a time I ran into you in Fort Worth. It's been several years ago, but it was at a burger joint, and you were, I believe you were like working security for the Bass Brothers or something.
Yeah, I was a bodyguard for 12 years.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, and I just now remember that. I'm like, damn nation. But yeah, I used to see you at the Margarita Ball. I mean, it's great to catch up with everybody. And you know, it's great seeing everybody, and everyone's doing well and very successful. And we appreciate the time. I'm glad you guys, you know, there was only 2 Hereford Bulls on here. I'm glad you guys didn't beat up on us today.
No.
Well, hey, I would love to do it all Hereford football. So with you and Aubrey and Don and maybe Alan Waters, whomever.
Yeah.
I think like to give you guys.
Yeah.
Please, hey,
Alan
send me the
Waters.
link. I want to listen in.
Alan Waters.
Yeah.
Waters. You know, the thing is, like, I keep telling everyone, I live out in the country, so I have satellite internet, which sucks. But in about a month or 2, I will have AT&T fiber optic. So when that happens, this will be a live stream.
Nice.
So
it'll be fun.
So, yes, I'm crossing my fingers. Well, Miss Lisa, because my grammar sucks and always has. Lisa does our party words on my behalf, and so.
Well, but before I say parting words, so James and Carrie, you need to relay to Alfred and Raymond that they missed a really fun time tonight.
We will, for sure.
And we're so grateful, and I know I can speak on behalf of these guys, my fellow classmates, that y'all were willing to come on and share about your experience. All of you guys, I hope that you hang up from this call tonight and reflect on what a really charmed time you had as athletes and students in your hometowns. We're all very lucky to grow up in the era that we did, to have the friendships that we did, the coaches, the community, the parents, the faculty that really rallied around us, not just as athletes, but as students, and that we were able to have these great rivalry slash camaraderies with each other, that we can go back and look at these memories with such fondness. And times have changed. You know, kids don't have that, even though, you know, Plainview's still there, Hereford's still there. What we had in our era was something unique and special.
Yep.
And you know, this is what, our 56th or 57th show, and it just keeps coming up. And we've interviewed people from a lot of different generations, not just the 80s. And we lived during a very charmed time. And I hope that you realize how blessed we all were and how fun, you know, how much fun we really had. And we didn't have a lot of the divisiveness that we see in the world today. And I think that was a real gift that was given to us in our generation. So
Well, I think
thank
we
you,
were
gentlemen.
blessed by playing sports. We didn't have any division.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Sports is a great equalizer, right? You all show up at the same time. It doesn't matter how big or small or the color of your skin or any of that. And that's one of the things I love about sports. And Steve, it's nice to see you again. And Dean,
Thank
oh
you.
my gosh, it just warms my heart to see you after all these years.
Thank
So
you.
thank you for
It's great
being
to see
able,
you.
you know.
Thank y'all for doing this. This was awesome. If anything I can do to help y'all in the future, I'd be happy to do it.
Oh, absolutely.
That would be great.
We're like Lisa's mentioned it. We started this over a year ago, man. We love it. We have front row seats with these great stories you guys share. So this is
Yeah.
awesome, guys. Thank you. Thank you. And all right, Carrie, I'm going to have you put the Hereford show together. So probably November, December.
Cool.
So
Okay.
cool. All right, guys. Well,
All right.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
enjoyed it.
Seeing everyone.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Good
All
night.
right.
Good night. Thank you again.
We'll see y'all.
Bye-bye, Tim.
Hey, Dean, before you pop off right quick,
Yes, sir.
do y'all know Steve and I were talking about this. Do y'all know anybody who might have any film of the game?
I want to say, God bless my mother, we may have transferred some film to VHS.
Yeah, because we got them albums. We got all that. But I think they got it in Plainview at the archives.
Son of a
Really?
gun.
My brother
Yeah,
Ross
we
got
need to get you a copy of that.
Well, we ought to have a little game watching and have some popcorn. That'd be fun.
Can I,
Yep.
can I,
Yeah.
can I control the pointer?
Yeah, you may.
but yeah, they got it in Plainview. You
Well,
just got-
cool. Well, Dean, I'll be in Plainview in 2 weeks for the all-school reunion. So you guys, Dean, you may be at a tournament, but anyway,
I'm
love to
gonna
come.
play. I'm gonna try to play it's now the JD Dickerson tournament, but
Okay.
it used to be the Jack Williams. I'm gonna try to go back to Plainview for that in a couple of weeks.
Okay, cool.
Hey, Mike, what you talking about high school reunion?
It's July next weekend, July 18th and 19th.
Our high school reunion?
All school
And-
reunion.
All school reunion at Plainview High.
Yes, from like the 1950s to
18th and 19th next month or this
yeah,
month?
this month
This month,
and next weekend.
Next weekend.
You know, no one ever told us this because you know I'm like Johnny. And you know who Johnny is? Johnny is always on the spot.
Hey, I'll text you the information tomorrow. Cool.
Okay, do that.
All right, guys. Well, good night, everybody.
Have a good one.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank y'all.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Right, but we didn't never know, really. Yeah, but
But they ain't said-
we didn't know.
But we didn't know.
We can hear you guys. Take care, Dean.
Thanks, brother. I enjoyed that. Thank you for putting that together, man.
We enjoyed it as well. Thank you.
Let me know
Have a
if I
good
can help.
night.
All right,
Absolutely. I'll reach out to
Absolutely.
you, brother. I'll reach out to you.
all right, man. Thanks.
Thank you. Good night. You know, I don't think we ask one, maybe two questions. Everything was organic. Great show.
We
Great
didn't
show.
know. Yeah. I didn't even look at the list to tell
Yeah.
you the truth.
And they did exactly what I asked them to. They're like, it's organic, organic, organic. So this is
Oh, it
awesome
was so
show.
fun. It was so fun. A
Yeah.
few audio glitches, but hopefully, it will
Yeah.
still translate and people can still hear.
Absolutely. Well, let's
Michael, I'm so bummed to not go to Plainview next week. For our viewers that are out there, my husband was in a really serious bicycle accident, and he's hopefully going to be okay. He's suffered a severe spinal fracture, and it's kind of touch and go right now. And so, unfortunately, I will not be in person in Plainview, and I'm super, super sad about that.
but you'll be there.
But,
Oh,
so,
good night, everybody. We'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Good night.
yeah, good night.
Bye-bye.